Sarah Jane Adventures, Prisoner of the Judoon, the first story of Series 3, is written by Phil Ford and it's starring Elizabeth Sladen, Tommy Knight, Daniel Anthony, Anjali Mohindra and Alexander Armstrong. So this episode published a simplified novelisation by Trevor Baxendale with the title Judoon Afternoon for School Literacy Programs in September 2010, and this is the first Sarah Jane Adventures episode that has a brief prologue in which Clyde tells us the characters and the series. They used that footage for the cinema trailer for the season, which I think it's great for those who hasn't seen Sarah Jane Adventures and, well, it introduces them to that program. This teaser includes brief scenes from the different stories of the season. So the story begins with Sarah Jane telling us what she does and enjoying her life. She interviews Mr. York about the nanoforms. Because Sarah Jane asks the wrong question, she gets thrown out, and she drove back home. The whole gang sees a meteor, so they look at Mr. Smith, which turns out to be a Judoon crash landing. Like I said in my Doctor Who Smith and Jones retrospective, I love the Judoon, they are really cool. Because Judoon are the police and their actions are brutal, so the gang are going after him. After Sarah Jane gave Geeta a leaflet for the plants, the gang has found a Judoon shooting about and there was an alien escaping, which means a prisoner has escaped. While Captain Tybo, which is the name of that Judoon by the way, is scanning around, he gets knocked out by Androvax, which is brutal. Androvax the Annihilator is a veal species who has the ability to control people's body by stepping in one. I thought he's pretty cool. He's also the last of his species outside of suspended animation. So the gang helps Captain Tybo and plan to help him recapture Androvax without harming innocent people. So after they heard little girl scream, Sarah Jane and Clyde ran off. As the girl claimed that the alien has took her mum, because Tybo realises that Ronnie and Luke was showing him down, he confiscated their phones and smashed their phones, which is uncalled for. As Sarah Jane tries to comfort the little girl, there was a beep on her scanner which it was Androvax who's possessing the little girl. So Androvax stepped out the little girl, put Clyde to sleep, and went inside Sarah Jane and possessed. My god, that's pretty scary, the way the tongue sticks out like a snake. After she went away, Luke, Ronnie and Tybo arrived in the church hall. I thought it was pretty funny when Tybo squirted water at Clyde to wake him up. So meanwhile, possessed Sarah Jane sets Mr. Smith on self-destruct. I thought it was amazing when Tybo took the police car from the policeman and drove it. Be fair, Judoon are police. The bit where Tybo tells a bloke to turn the music down and Ronnie waved at him is pretty funny. And when he phoned his mum, I wonder what he'd say. A humanoid rhino driving a police car with 3 human teenagers. So they arrived at Sarah Jane's house and into the attic, and realising that Mr. Smith is about to explode, which leads to cliffhanger. So Luke talks Mr. Smith to deactivate self-destruction, which is nicely done. And oh yeah, because Geeta decides to take Harash and dumps plants in the building, they get taken by a security guard. So Sarah Jane sees Mr. York and gets the nanoforms to build a spaceship, so Androvax can escape. And it was funny when Geeta told Harash that he's more of a Jamie Oliver than James Bond. And I thought the way they handled meeting Judoon troopers intense and amusing at the same time. And Tybo getting Luke, Ronnie and Clyde to obey the rules, like pay for parking and not going into unauthorised room. So they tricked Tybo to lock him up in the room, which isn't going to end well when he gets out. So while Luke meets possessed Sarah Jane, Ronnie and Clyde were getting chased by nanoforms, but managed to stop them with a fire extinguisher. So at the spaceship, while nanoforms are consuming the entire building, the gang gets Sarah Jane to fight the Androvax and released her. And after the Judoon troopers let Tybo out, they manage to capture Androvax. Luke manages to stop all the nanoforms. Androvax tells Sarah Jane that someone will destroy her, which is not something I want to think about. So Judoon took Androvax away, and pretty amusing when Tybo told Harash and Geeta that there's nothing to see. And also they grounded Luke, Ronnie and Clyde on Earth. They're so police. While Mr. York sees a spaceship flying away, the whole gang has arrived back home, and Geeta came up and told them that she saw aliens. Judoon obviously. So that's Prisoner of the Judoon, and I really love this episode. What do you guys think? both part 1 and 2. Drop your thoughts on the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.